Hello and welcome to the Akrinos Marketplace. I'm Akrinos President Eric Matei, joined today by Dr. Dave Schultz. Dr. Schultz is the founder and owner of Urban Optics in San Luis Obispo, California. And Dr. Schultz is hanging out with us today on the Marketplace to share a little bit about his practice. And well, y'all, just stay tuned. Dr. Schultz has created some really amazing things, and we're really honored to bring his practice to market. Dr. Schultz, welcome to the Akrinos Marketplace.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, likewise, Dr. Schultz. And, I would love for us to get things kicked off here, and you're going to share a little bit about the story of Urban Optics, but I'd love to for you to just bring us back to the beginning, share a little bit about your background in optometry and, what inspired you to pursue practice ownership.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It happened quite a long time ago. Graduated from high school in 1969, so it's quite a long time ago. But anyway, I went to undergraduate school at the University of California at Davis, and I knew I was going to do some type of health profession when I got there. I was thinking about veterinary medicine. I worked for a veterinarian and decided, well, that's not my place in life. So they had a health science library, a small thing at that time. And I spent a lot of time going through pamphlets, books, and everything, discovering different health professions. I didn't want to be an MD, so I considered dentistry, pharmacy, physical therapy, all those. And then I looked into optometry, and it seemed to really fit my lifestyle. I could combine healthcare, retail, and actually fashion together all in one place. That really interested me. So I graduated from undergraduate school in 1976 and enrolled in State University of New York College of Optometry in 1977. Graduated from there in 1981 and moved back to California. I practiced in Davis for about 8 years. Had a partner. We kept separate books, so I've always been in private practice or always self-employed the whole time. During that time, I met a woman, got married, we had a child. We decided we wanted to move more towards the coast. So after practicing in Davis for 8 years, we moved to San Luis Obispo, which Oprah calls the happiest town on earth. Anyway, then
why? Do we know why Oprah calls it the happiest town on earth?
She has a vacation spot pretty close to here. And when she comes downtown, she had certain places where she'd always buy donuts and stuff.
Sure.
And she just loves the downtown here. We're on the main street downtown, and it's where everything's happening. Anyway, so when we moved here, I decided to switch gears a little bit. So this was, we moved in 1989. Beginning in 1990, we opened up Urban Optics. And we decided to go totally independent. And so I was in one of the founding lanes of independent eyewear, which has become very, popular these days. I opened with 2 lines. That was it. Alon Mickley and LA Eyeworks. And it was an interesting journey. It took about 5 years to build up a patient base, and we were on a adjacent street to the main downtown street. And after 5 years, we had a big enough patient base to move over on the main street and pay a little more rent. And we slowly increased the number of lines we have to whatever we have today, probably 15 to 20. All of them are independent lines. As independent lines get bought up by larger companies, especially Luxottica, I just dump them. Dumped Oliver Peoples, Oakley, all the ones that get bought up, and replace them with something else. Actually, I had to get rid of Alon Mickley, which was one of my first one. He's a great designer. The beauty of small independent companies is I'm good friends with most of the owners of all of them, and it's a great relationship. So we're still totally independent eyewear. The most recent ones we've added were Alias, that's out of Chicago. Anyway, so that's the basic trip. I
love it. And Dr. Schultz, I've got to ask. Right now there's a lot of conversation in our industry around optical and, what we're talking about here, independent optical versus non-independent optical. And what really has been your drive to stay independent? And if you could also offer some words of encouragement to doctors out there who are kind of struggling with, do I stay independent or do I kind of go in? What for you has been kind of this core ethos that's really inspired you and motivated you to stay really staunchly independent in the business?
Well, it leads more towards the fashion side of eyewear, number one, which I mean real fashion, where the designers, that the designers of the company, that your sales reps, I won't have a new line unless I know the sales rep and I've known him for years. Because I don't know, they come and go in those large, companies. You get a rep, they're gone, rep gone, So I know the reps personally. I know the owners personally. They're friends of mine. I can call them, talk to them, and it just makes it a very personal business. Whereas if you're, dealing with Luxottica, you might know your rep, but you don't know anybody up in the company at all.
Yeah,
they're all personal friends of mine.
Yeah. I love you sharing that, Dr. Schultz. And to our listeners out there, again, Dr. Schultz has built an amazing business by staying staunchly independent, right? Staying committed to that vision, staying committed to the patients, the clients, the community who are patronizing Urban Optics.
The interesting thing about that is you kind of dictate your own patient base, because my lines are on the relatively expensive side. And I would say the companies I sell the most are probably Garrett Light, Salt, Bevel, Kuberam, Vinylized, things like that. And it's more on the more expensive side. So it's my niche. And if people need to go somewhere else, that's their prerogative. There are things like Costco. That's, it fills a niche for people who need it.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Dr. Dave, if we can talk a little bit about the practice today, I'd like to kind of open that up, right? So we've got viewers from across the country here who may be interested in what we've got going at Urban Optics. So I'd love for you to share with us a little bit about, scope of care and clinical operations, kind of a typical day in the office at Urban Optics.
Okay, a typical day for me is I work 3.5 days a week, and I'm off 3.5 days a week. And I've been able to gross a nice sum of money just working that minimum amount of time. I do not overbook anybody. I see 6 exams in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. I have room for 2 small slots for either contact lens checks or a medical visit. And my patients love that I don't overbook. I don't make anybody wait. The only time somebody waits is if the patient before them is late. So I run on time. People like that. I actually do the whole exam myself. And I don't have anybody else doing pre-testing. I do all that. Patients enjoy that. They're out on time, and it's a good relationship. They like that about the exams, and it's more intimate than other types of practices.
So in a typical day, I mean, you say 3.5 days a week.
Yeah.
I see that grin, by the way, Dr. Dave. I love that Dr. Dave grin.
That's since over the last year with my wife being ill, I probably work less than that. But anyway,
Sure. So scheduling patients on the hour, patients on the 45,
half hour exam.
Sure.
Is plenty of time because I do everything, and after this many years, I'm relatively quick at it. And relatively good, if I may say so myself. Anyway,
love it.
So
love it.
The scope of the practice is, I'm 99% eye exams, eyewear, and contact lenses. That would be 99% of the practice. Probably 1% is medical, and I do no specialties. So there is a lot of room for expansion of the business if people are interested in things different than I do.
And I'm really glad you shared that, Dr. Dave, because as we have touched on, right, in analyzing the business, understanding where it is now, but also understanding the amazing opportunity this presents to the next owner, expanding scope of care is certainly something that your business, Urban Optics, has an amazing opportunity for that next owner, whether that's in the direction of vision, whether that's in the direction of medical care, specialty care. Again, what you've got going in Urban Optics uh, is remarkable. Many ways to continue to serve those patients well into the future. So let's shift gears now, Dr. Dave, from scope of care and clinical ops to now talking the optical and retail side, which is clearly something that you have really led the way on. And to our listeners out there, go ahead as you're listening to this next little segment from Dr. Dave Schultz of Urban Optics in San Luis Obispo, California. Go ahead and search Dr. Schultz's name, and you'll see he has played a pretty profound role in independent optical and in helping doctors of optometry embrace a staunchly independent optical. So, Dr. Dave, I'd love for you to share with us a little bit about optical and retail operations at Urban Optics.
Optical and retail operations. Well, like I said, it's totally independent. We see a lot of walk-in. Our town is a college town, and we're right next to the coast. We're about 5 miles off the coast. It's a very large vacation area. We're near Morro Bay, Avila Beach, and all these places. People come to San Luis Obispo to vacation. So we see a lot of walk-in clientele. I have people walk in literally all the time and go, "This is the best selection of eyewear I've ever seen," literally. And it happens all the time. Like I said, we're on the more expensive side. So, the average price range for a frame is probably $350 and way up from there, but not way down from there, that's for sure. Anyway, so on the optical side, like I said before, I probably carry 15 to probably 20 lines of independent eyewear. I try to get a mix of optical products that cover, every base. Some, for more feminine, more masculine, different sizes. Some that aren't too off the edge, but some that are really, really unique. I'll order frames just so people will take a look and think they're interesting, So they may not sell, but usually they eventually do. And so it's interesting. I love the fashion side of it. I love people to leave and look good and be happy with their eyewear.
I love it. And, it's interesting you say that, Dr. Dave, because as you know, I read a number of different business journals kind of across the scope of all aspects of business. And it's fascinating to see the latest research coming out of the marketing think tanks, because they increasingly are shining a light on the fact that consumers, they want unique options. And it's really fascinating as we're seeing more and more things, like as we see like AI and other things of technology looking to standardize more and more things. Market research is saying consumers are looking for things that are different, that are unique, things that really represent them. And I believe that's something that you have certainly figured out that combination on. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, though, also, Dr. Dave, and kind of this changing environment.
A lot of pressure from online, AI, and all that thing. So I try, to carry lines that don't sell online, that people have a harder time finding online or that can't be replicated. But as AI gets bigger and bigger, there'll be more pressure from the outside, and everybody knows that. But if you carry product that's, is close to unavailable elsewhere, it really, really helps in what you do, because people will come in, look at it, and they'll go online and they'll not be able to find it, and they'll come back and buy it here. It's like, everybody does that these days.
Yeah. If you could sum it up in just a couple of words, what would you say? I know you said a moment ago that people will come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen an optical offering of this caliber. But what would you say, like, what do patients like most about your optical and patronizing the business?
Well, one thing is our optical probably more resembles a art museum than a or a art store more than it does an optical. So we have frames. We display them uniquely. We have a large pool table we display frames on. It's all mixed in with original artwork that I've procured all over the years. So people like that it looks different. It does not look like an optical shop.
You are absolutely right about that. And as a matter of fact, y'all, if you want to catch a glance, head on over to Akrinos.com, head on over to the Akrinos marketplace, and you'll see it. I mean, it really, like, it's a really, really cool place.
Well, that and we don't wear medical outfits. We don't. I look different. I don't ever wear long pants. They've written up articles of me in journals about never wearing long pants. It's like it's you got to have your own niche. You got your own fashion.
Absolutely.
I have patients come in and they've seen me walking around downtown and they go, "I always wondered what you did."
That's awesome. I love it. And hey, to our viewers out there, he always wears shorts. And how do I know this? Dr. Dave, you may recall our first time meeting in person at the Loft Eyewear show in New York City a couple of years ago. I was there doing a business workshop talking about, preparing the business for exit, how to sell a practice. And who was one of the registered attendees of it? Oh, Dr. Dave Schultz. He comes walking in, y'all. It must have been like 38 degrees outside. So it was like early March, New York City. Here comes old Dr. Dave.
Been there.
Wearing a coat and scarf, but rocking the shorts.
Been there when it's snowing. So I'm in New York City. Way back when I went to, started when Vision Expo was called Opti Fair when I was going to optometry school. And I started going there, and I've been there, except for COVID, every year for the last 45 years. But except I boycott it now because I moved to Florida. Anyway, and I just go to the Loft in New York. So I'm in, it was probably 25 years ago. I'm in McSorley's old ale house down in the East Village. And it's the oldest ale house in New York City, if you don't know. And this kid walks up to me and he goes, "Are you Dr. Schultz?" He goes, I go, "Yeah." He was a patient of mine in San Luis Obispo. He goes, "Oh, I recognize you by your shorts." Happened the same thing. We went to the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island a few years back. I think it was 2019. Anyway, kid walks up to me and goes, "Are you Dr. Schultz?" They all recognize me because I'm wearing shorts.
That's it. The one and only. The one and only. I love it. Also, something else there you hit on, Dr. Dave, that I'd imagine everybody y'all listen what Dr. Dave did. He has totally built this business marching to the beat of his own stinking drum, right? And
don't want to look
up to and including rocking the short pants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to look like an optometrist. I don't want my staff to look like they're medical assistants. I just want everybody to enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, Dr. Dave, now let's talk a little bit about, the patient community side of things, right? I mean, look, you've built this amazing business over the decades, and, certainly Urban Optics wouldn't be to where it is if it weren't for how patients in the community really embrace the business. So maybe tell us a little bit about this patient side. Help us understand, how many active patients are in the practice. What do you think are like the three things that patients really most gravitate to in the business?
The active patients, I would estimate over the last couple of years, maybe 5,000. Over the years, I mean, I have patients that have been coming to me for 36 years here, and I've many patients that I've seen them more than half their life. So it's, a lot of long-standing patients that I see. But the community is the patient base is actually a very intelligent patient base. We have it's home to the Cal Polytechnical College in University in San Luis Obispo. So it's called Cal Poly SLO. Anyway, so I have a lot of patients that are professors, a lot of patients that are college students, and that type. So it's a very well-educated base, and it's a town with a lot of culture, because they have the all of the music that's on campus. We have a lot of different music venues here, and there's a lot of plays, a lot of culture going on in the town. But it's a very intelligent patient base. The other patients, many that are work remotely, especially since COVID, and people move out of LA and San Francisco and ended up here because it's a much better place to live. No traffic, no smog,
Sure.
nothing. So anyway, you have a lot of high tech people. Google put in an office here, so which created plane flights, and stuff. So we have a lot of really high end tech people and state employees, things like that. I see a lot of county and city employees because their offices are real close to here.
Yeah. I think something else that it ties back to as well is you were mentioning the culture piece, like culture of the community. And in as much as Urban Optics is really a reflection of the culture of the community, I think also lends itself to a lot of just like this long-standing success that the business has had. How do you market, right? I mean, you've been in business for 36 years. You got a great loyal patient following. How do we market?
I would say the main marketing is location.
Sure.
I mean, on the main downtown street. I do use other things. I use there's a weekly entertainment guide that also has different articles. They create their own weekly articles on news, local happenings, and that type of thing. So we do advertise in that. We've also won the best eyewear in the county for probably 25 out of the last 30 years. And anyway, and then I do a tiny bit of radio on the local ESPN radio, but that's usually only in big things like NCAA playoffs and basketball,
sure,
things like that. But
sure,
I still dabble in that, but it's mainly location and the weekly entertainment guide.
So what I'm hearing here, and to our listeners out there, if you're putting all the pieces together, Urban Optics, 36 years in business. Dr. Schultz has built this thing independently without all the riffraff that I know a lot of doctors want to get away from. Dr. Schultz has blazed the trail sans riffraff, but also here we're talking marketing. Remember, y'all, earlier in our conversation, Dr. Dave shared he's seeing patients 3.5 days a week with patients scheduled on the 30. And this is how it's being marketed. So we can start to think about, wow, where can this business go from here, right? Where can the next owner bring this legacy into the future? Really, really amazing things. And Dr. Dave, that's where I think I'd like to kind of pull it all together and you share, man, I want you to share what you're looking to in the future. You've built this thing with purpose, with intent, and who do you think is going to be the perfect future owner for the legacy of Urban Optics?
Well, I would like it to be something similar. I'd like somebody who had an eye for fashion and independent eyewear. That said, I understand people are trained differently these days than I was trained on in optometry school. So I know there's a huge medical side, and I see that should be addressed by if it's a recent graduate, that's, going to be the way it goes. But I really would like the aspect of fashion and independence to be incorporated. Now, once you sell it, you have no control over that. So those are only wishes and thoughts that I have. But I'm open to suggestions on what people want to do with the practice.
Well, if there's one thing for sure, Dr. Schultz, it's that you've really, again, you've created a business with purpose that's truly reflective of what residents of the community are looking for, right? And there in San Luis Obispo, California, really cool, hip place. Again, to our listeners out there, you got to explore San Luis Obispo. If you're out there, if you're in the region, you absolutely know what the vibe is like. But if you're from somewhere else, like New Orleans, where I'm from, San Luis Obispo, that's a cool place.
Yeah.
But
2020 did an article on me, and all of it dealt with the city of San Luis Obispo and what a great place that, it's the editor's wife, Joseph Spina's wife, and I mean, they vacation out here all the time, and they absolutely love the city of San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, and it's really, man, again, Dr. Dave, it's remarkable what you have built. And to our listeners out there, specifically to those that are really looking to blaze a trail like what Dr. Dave has done in urban optics, right? You've got a legacy and established business that is staunchly independent, that has a loyal patient following, that has a loyal community following. You're not in business 36 years and don't have buy-in from the community. And I think also with what we've touched on, just given where the business is now, this thing is not nearly peaked out.
No.
Right? This thing has a whole lot of runway ahead of it.
Somebody could work a lot more days than I do.
Amen. Well, y'all, thank you all for joining us here on this episode of Akrinos Marketplace. As I was hanging out here with Dr. Dave Schultz, of founder and owner of Urban Optics in San Luis Obispo. Y'all, if you have an interest in urban optics, head on over to the marketplace at akrinos.com. Check it out. If you did want to learn more, get into the nitty gritty, y'all know the routine. You'll fill out a little form there on the Akrinos website. That's going to hit my team's desk, then we'll go ahead and coordinate with you to get you some more info. Dr. Dave Schultz, it has been an absolute pleasure to work with you in getting your practice to this point, and now just very excited to welcome in the next generation.
I enjoyed it and appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Well, hey, everyone have an amazing week. And again, if you're one of our listeners out there, have an interest in this practice, head on over to akrinos.com and we'll take it from there. Dr. Dave, have a great week, man.
You too. Thanks.
Y'all take care. Bye-bye.